Good evening, folks. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another modern stream. Today we are going to be playing with Jake C's Modern Enchantress list. I am super excited about this. So the goal here is to try to port Legacy Enchantress into Modern. And with the release of Modern Horizons 2, this archetype essentially became enabled because we have Enchantress's presence to let us draw a card. And we have Sythis, which also draws cards and gains life. And most of the core of the Legacy deck is here. One thing that's missing is Serra's Sanctum, and so instead you get this sexy little tree. You get Sanctum Weaver. You can tap it to add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of enchantments you control. Now, I am not going to claim that Jake has figured out the perfect Enchantress list. There's been a lot of lists floating around. I saw another list on Twitter right before getting started with this. Zio Francone, thank you very much for the raid. Everyone, you're just in time. The stream is just starting up here with Modern Enchantress. So we have most of what the Legacy deck has to offer. Now, the thing here, though, is that the Modern version will be easier to interact with. In Legacy, Argothian Enchantress has Shroud, and Sythis doesn't. And that's kind of a big deal. Similarly, Serra's Sanctum is a land, kinda hard to interact with. Sanctum Weaver is a creature, and Modern is a format just full of creature-based removal. Your Lightning Bolts, your Fatal Pushes, your Path to Exiles, your Abrupt Decays, your Assassin's Trophy. You get the idea. And that's not even counting the sweet removal spells from Modern Horizons 2, like Sudden Edict. So, if things work out, how are we hoping to win? Well, we can get a soft lock with things like Ghostly Prison and Solitary Confinement, and then the hope is to bury the opponent either in Angels, kill all your opponent's creatures, and then just bash for a handful of damage a couple of times, activate Destiny Spinner and kill your opponent with some random enchantments that turn into creatures. Or sorry, it turns a land into a creature based on the number of enchantments you have. Or, and the big daddy finisher here, is Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn. Now, 15 mana might seem like a stretch, but it's actually going to be easier than you think. One of the lists I saw on Twitter was winning with Helix Pinnacle after all. And you do have Finale of Devastation that can give that creature haste and make it a little bit better. Glorious Wolfman, glad you're enjoying the content. I'm up to 7 days a week now, and it's been a blast. Okay. As far as the sideboard goes, one of the big things we're looking at here is additional removal. More copies of On Thin Ice and some copies of Path to Exile. We want to make sure that we have some game versus aggressive decks like Affinity, and we also have some other things that can fight there like Suppression Field or Seal of Cleansing. We also have Voidmere. Now, let me scooch this over a little bit for the YouTube folks. We also have Voidmere. And let's scooch this over a little bit more for the YouTube folks. Voidmere is something that I'm not sure is actually playable. I talked about this card on the podcast, or, well, really Brian did. He kind of thought that this card was very much overhyped. It may be that this is a good way to fight against something like Tron or Affinity, and it may be that this card is playable, but those decks run things like Artifact Lands or Chromatic Star that can cycle for mana, and they can get colored mana to cast spells with, so I'm not convinced that this is actually the lockout piece that we actually want. I am excited to see this deck in action. There's some cute stuff that can happen. We can loop enchantments with Hall of Heliod's Generosity, or we can get the big daddy mirror suspend spell Resurgent Belief and return all enchantment cards from our graveyard to the battlefield. That's also sick too. For folks watching on the YouTube end, would appreciate a like before we get started here. That sort of thing helps out my content a lot, and likes are one of the single biggest predictors of a video's success on YouTube. If you want to try this deck list, the deck list is always available in the video information, as is my donation information if you want to see something sweet on stream. All right, let's battle. Opponent is playing a Luris the Dream Den deck. I am looking at not turn 2 Sythis, my mana doesn't work. I'm looking at turn 2 Destiny Spinner. I don't know if that's where I want to be, and I can't cast the Ghostly Prison, which is probably good against a Lurrus deck. I think I'm going to go ahead and mulligan. Oh, the Affinity deck list that I posted on YouTube went to the absolute moon. That was my best performing video of all time. Okay, hand number 2 does not have an Enchantress effect. Is this keepable? I get 1 redraw, and I have Doomwake Giant, which is probably good against a Lurrus deck. I think I keep this one. Let's pitch... I don't know what to pitch. Maybe just pitch a land. Alright. Forest, Abundant Growth, here we go. New Abundant Growth. Yeah, it is crazy seeing the affinity cards back again, and they are out in force. Oh, clever Lumimancer. So we're playing against maybe a red-white Prowess deck. So that's fine. I'm going to make a lot of enchantments sometime soonish. Do I want to kill this now? I kind of want a Sanctum Weaver, and then next turn I can go ham. But I think I should probably kill this thing now. I think I can just get forests here. So this one can be green. I'll cycle the Abundant Growth. Alright. I choose target snowland I control. I pay white. This comes in. I exile that. It can just deal 12? Excuse me? I mean, I believe you, but, like, damn. Chilliest, thank you very much for your support. I hope you're enjoying the content. Unbaked Canyon. Crash through. Creatures control gain trample until end of turn, draw a card. Okay. Mutagenic growth baubles. I mean, makes sense, right? You want to get Surveil active as quickly as possible. Oh, Ghostly Prison is really good. I think I am willing to take a hit, though, in order to get Sanctum Weaver in play. It's already representing 1, 2, 3, at least 4 mana next turn. Yeah, I think I'll take my redraw, and then probably just play Sanctum Weaver, like, accept 1 hit from a Dragon Rage Channeler. And then I can jump to Doomwake Giant levels and Ghostly Prison. Upkeep. Okay, so just going for the Surveil now for information. Alright, Dragon Rage Channeler is now turned on, if that's the appropriate word. Taking at least 4 here. Ghostly Prison coming down will be pretty good. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, and then I can fetch a tapped land. I knew what I was doing, Twitch chat. So I have access to all my colors. Let's just grab a Temple Garden tapped. I mean, we got so many reprints. Like, I'm very happy with the things that we did get. I think it injected a lot of life into formats that were maybe a little bit unexciting. And there's so many people who have, like, pet decks of some kind, or just decks that they normally play, and, like, everybody got a little bit of something out of Modern Horizons too. I think that's why my videos from this week have just absolutely been exploding. People are excited about this set. It's maybe a little bit broken, but cards are doing work. Like, people are enjoying them. I'm gonna take 4 here, but, like, costs my opponent their turn, so I'm good with that. Resurgent Belief. That's a little slow at this stage of the game. Okay. I can just get a forest here. That's fine. Yeah. Now we have something with a big butt that can just block. I mean, I beat Thassa's Oracle with Endurance earlier today, so I don't know that I actually agree with you. Second Manamorphose. The prowess here isn't actually all that scary. Ooh, Hyperlink, that is a good question. The answer is almost certainly yes. Will you send me a message, like on Twitter or through email or something? Or if you're in the Discord, that would be a great place. Just send me that when I can dedicate a little bit of time to actually look at the list. Because, like, I have tons of video ideas. Or if you want to do a donation now, just send it with the word, like, Dealer's Choice, Modern Horizons 2 or something like that, and I will make something work. Okay. The opponent is crashing in. Is there a lava dart in the graveyard? There is a lava dart in the graveyard. So I could trade the Doomwake Giant for that thing. I probably need to. The going to this low of a life total means that burn spells are very much real. Oh shit, there's a Soul Scour Mage in play. So if I block, I get lava darted, I go down to 3 power. Yeah, this isn't even a trade. I guess no blocks then. And then we just hope to get cantripping enchantments this turn? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Well, Rogue Judge, nice to see you. Oh no, did I die? I might have just died. Reaple Cheap, expect a Twitch stream about once a week now. It'll be a little more sporadic. I am definitely focusing on the YouTube content more. I think it just logistically makes more sense for me. Oh yeah, I'm straight up dead. Yikes. I needed a little bit more time. I also didn't get an Enchantress effect into play early. Alright, let's see what we can do. I would like removal spells. And then there's some things that do stuff. Like Rest in Peace technically has some text in this matchup. It can stop Lurrus Recursion, it can stop Lava Dart, it can stop Dragon Rage Channeler from getting larger. Yeah, Cauldra is a sweet card. I underestimated that card in spoiler season. It's better than it looks. Sure, Voidmere does stop the free spells, and then they, well, maybe they don't have a green land to actually cast Mutagenic Growth. I don't know that I want to sideboard this in. Like, it doesn't have the front half of Lava Dart, right? Like, they still do that for 1 red mana. I'm going to board in 3 to 5 cards. I think Resurgent Belief is slow. I think... Usually there's a decent amount of kind of loose stuff that you can board out, but this list is a little less full of, like, cute one-ofs than a lot of the Enchantress lists I play. I don't know how to board it out here. Like, do I cycle Abundant Growths out? Because I need to be ramping instead of color fixing? Maybe Sterling Grove is slow here. I could see Sterling Grove being slow. That would give me my slots. Dr. Bill, thank you very much for the support. Do you have German copies of some of these new ones yet? Yeah, I'm not sure if Resurgent Belief is actually good enough for the modern version of this deck. I'm guessing Replenish is not legal. That card feels like it's old. Yeah, when I played my Dead Guy AL League, I fetched Cauldra as the first piece of equipment, like, every time. Ah, you have to wait. That's fine. We have a little bit too much endgame stuff for my liking, but I have 2 Enchantress effects and a mana ramp effect. I think I'm good with that. Yes, the Cauldra Complete is very good when it's good and very bad when it's bad. It's very rarely just kind of a medium quality card. It is either absolutely stupid or it sits in your hand and does nothing. Okay. I think I need to do Sythis first. Yeah, so I played it in turn... I played Stoneforge on turn 1 off a Chrome Mox in Legacy. Put it into play on turn 2 and Goldfished my opponent on turn 4. It's strong. That was with Death and Taxes, featuring Luminarch Aspirant as well, which is how I was able to get to, like, that much damage quickly. Crashed through now. I mean, a bunch of Legacy decks don't have answers to a Resolved Cauldra, if we're being honest. Okay, only 6 damage. This deck is coming out of the gates just too quickly for me. If I get a little time to set up, I might be fine, but especially if I miss my land drop next turn, I think I'm just donezo. Prismatic Ending. Oh yeah, that card is legal in this format too. That card's really good in the Legacy Bant deck. Been super impressed by this card. Just so strong. Yeah, I am probably dead for missing this land drop. I hope this is not indicative of how this league is going to go. Don't just want to get run over by, like, decks like this in Affinity 5 rounds in a row. That would be a little embarrassing. I I was gonna say, styling with the attack with the 0-1 clever Lumomancer. I can respect that. Oh no, there's more. Oh no, it's just Lurrus in hand. Just Lurrus. Well, I'm going to cast the card that I can cast. It technically has some impact versus Lurrus, but Lurrus's 3-2 body will just body me. I mean, I think it makes sense here, right? It just, like, gets rid of everything that you care about. It triggers Prowess for 1 mana as well. It's super flexible. Alright, I think that kills me. Yeah, 7 more damage incoming. That was rough. I did not have time to set up anything here. GG's. Round 2, hand number 1 has no mana sources. Hand number 2 is totally fine. I'll be keeping this. I think I need 3rd land here. What's going back? Could be a situation where Destiny Spinner goes back. And I just plan on drawing a bunch of cards and winning somehow later. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, yeah. When I say affinity, I mean any sort of artifact based aggro deck. It doesn't necessarily have to be actual factual frogmites and such. I think Affinity's place in Legacy is going to be that it's going to be another deck like Dredge, that when people are not ready for it, it is just one of the best things to be doing. And when people are ready for it, like, like, you get null rotted and stony silenced and all sorts of other meltdown level shit all the time. When I was playing Affinity versus Delver, all I was thinking is, if they have a Wasteland, I'm screwed, and if they don't have a Wasteland, I win. Misty Rainforest and fetch from our opponent. Into Overgrown Tomb. And Abundant Harvest. Card's been pretty good for me in Legacy. Snapcaster Mage, Bloodstained Mire. They're taking the Bloodstained Mire. That's fine. I think I'm going to go ahead and shock myself to play Sterling Grove here. My opponent is potentially in Abrupt Decay colors. Hello and welcome. How artifact-centric do you think a deck needs to beat Joran Saga? Not very. Like, Lands is trying it, for example. If you can make 2 mana in addition to Urza Saga on turn 2, Urza Saga will probably be good in your deck. And, like, a Chrome Mox, Mox Diamond, Ancient Doom deck can do just that. When I posted on the subreddit, I basically said, like, a hand of Ancient Tomb and Urza Saga is a keepable hand. Like, you don't need much else. And that wasn't really just, like, hyperbole for the sake of hyperbole. That was just, like, an actual factual statement based on how that league went. El Rodeo, if you want to hover over the Cardboard Live extension, that can give you the whole deck list. We're trying to win with Emrakul. Or just opponents conceding out of frustration and hatred and solitary confinement. Okay, Witch Triome. Got it. Rug Triome. Alright, Shardless Agent. Into Fatal Push. Yeah, see, this was one of the problems I ran into when I played Shardless Agent. Like, you have so many whiffs when your opponent does not actually have a creature in play. This draws a card. If this didn't draw a card, I might just hold this here, but it does draw a card. So I will unimpressively use an Oblivion Ring on a 2/2 bear. Oblivion Ring. Choose you. And now tapped Temple Garden. This is more our speed. Like, we want to be playing against a slow, dirtily control deck. I want to get a couple Enchantress's presences into play and then just, like, vomit cards everywhere. Yeah, your Snapcaster Mage Abundant Harvest is totally fine with me. There it goes. Yeah, Reapal Cheap, I think it's totally reasonable to try it in Curses. What did you get? You got a Tarmogoyf. That's fine. On Thin Ice. I want to use this to answer the Tarmogoyf, probably. Start by casting this. Possible I want to play Hall of Helia's Generosity here to cast this, though. Just make my mana a little bit better in case I am able to double or triple spell. I don't know that we need to power creep Sterling Grove. Card's already pretty darn good. Yeah, since I have something else to cast this turn instead of On Thin Ice, I'm just going to save On Thin Ice for Tarmogoyf. Now we're doing stuff. Oh, my opponent is just fucking done with me already. That's totally fair. Alright, Snapcaster Mage, Tarmogoyf. Abundant Harvest is what we've seen. I like the idea of Rest in Peace. I like the idea of On Thin Ice. Oh, we also saw Shardless Agent. Like, that's a thing too. I think if I board in Rest in Peace, I have to board out Resurgent Belief. So there's a starting point. I think Sterling Grove will probably be good against Abrupt Decay style cards. Ghostly Prison is maybe not super necessary. My opponent's creatures are small-ish, although the mana tax is super relevant. Let's maybe leave one so that I can tutor for it and then find one other cut. Maybe be one Solitary Confinement. If I'm drawing a billion cards anyway, I'll find some way to win. Yeah, I've seen some screenshots of various Urza Saga decks that are just gross. Like, the ability to tutor for stuff is very strong. I've seen people messing around with it in like Primeval Titan style shells where it finds your what is it called, Amulet of Vigor. It does work. I think this is a keepable hand. We have multiple Enchantress effects. I have mana ramp. I make 2 land drops, and if everything goes well, I have, you know, effective Emrakul in hand. Here we go. Blooming Marsh. Yeah, you can Inquisition me. My hand's pretty redundant. I'm guessing one of my 2-drops ends up going, but if my opponent has things like Fatal Push, it could be that Enchantress's presence goes instead, because it's just harder to deal with. Sterling Grove. Sure. Okay, let's just get my white mana now. I know that fetching now is safe. I've gotten Shadow of Doubted one too many times randomly in Modern. I don't want to be hurt again. This isn't the format where I have to play around Wasteland just all the time. Okay, so this feels like an Abrupt Decay situation. So which one of my 2 creatures do I want to get Abrupt Decayed? Honestly, probably Sythis. I have 2 more Enchantress effects in hand. Sanctum Weaver becomes useful once I actually get online. Red, if you want to check out the deck list, hover over the Cardboard Live extension. We're not combo if you mean like Helix Pinnacle build. Shardless Agent is a go. Alright, getting Tarmogoyf. That's what they want to see. That's a good hit. Let's see if I can catch up. All I need to do is find something like a Rest in Peace, and all of a sudden I take 5 power out of play. But this Tarmogoyf is a beefy boy. It is a 5/6 already because of my enchantments. Now I probably... Ooh, I lose the Sanctum Weaver. Watery Grave means they have more to play. Spin the wheel again with another Shardless Agent. Another Inquisition. Okay, well, I'm the sort of deck that can draw out of that. But I do need to draw out of it. Okay, so I can cast this for 2, right? Search your library or graveyard for a creature card, mana value X or less, put it onto the battlefield. Okay, so I can get a CMC2 thing rather than save this up for an Emrakul. That's fine. I will play expensive Green Sun. Oh, I see. I have to search library if I want to do it this way. I guess I can take the Sythis out of my graveyard, question mark? Or do I want to take one out of my deck? It's redraws in my deck. I'll take the one out of my graveyard. Like deck thinning versus taking 1 card out of the graveyard, which might become relevant for Tarmogoyf somehow. I mean, Meekstone stops a lot of creatures in Delver. I don't think that's crazy. I will use Assassin Trophy's ability. Is there any world where... Oh, I don't even have another, like, planes to get. Take 7, go to 5. Need to have a good turn here. Horizon Canopy is not what I'm looking for. I will take a redraw. Verdant Catacombs does not do it. I will be conceding. That's a shame. There are a lot of times where we string together quite a few cards there. Maybe I want another... Like, maybe I want this stuff because I just need the time. If I have the time, I will bury my opponent in cards. Them hitting Tarmogoyf off the Shardless Agent was kind of scary, but they can also just find Rhinos. I disagree with you. I don't actually think Veil is good. I've played a lot of non-blue legacy decks, and I think the cost of holding up Veil is very frequently too high in tap-out decks. So like on turn 2, I want to play a turn 2-drop. On turn 3, I want to play a 3-drop or 2 1-drops. I don't want to be holding up Veil. And if my stuff gets destroyed, I don't really care because I'm hoping it replaces itself anyway. That said, I don't really know what I want to be boarding out. The numbers are a little hard here. Like, I feel like I can't really take out the closers. Maybe I trim one Reacher. And maybe I trim one Solitary Confinement because it does require setup. Maybe I do keep that in the sideboard, but bring the Ghostly Prison back in when I'm on the play. Like, I think, at least I can speak for Legacy, I think a lot of people put Veil of Summer in their deck because Veil of Summer is a stupid powerful card when it doesn't actually fit the play patterns of the deck. Oh, I don't think I get to play Resurgent when I also board in Rest in Peace, though. I think that's the problem there. I don't think this hand is anything special, but it has something that probably eats a spell on turn 2. It has a decent turn 3 play, and this can become an Enchantress effect. Nick, you can scroll over it on screen on the Cardboard Live extension. It's the set of cards there. Christian, thank you very much for following. White Faces, it's very possible, you're right. Like, 95% of the Magic I play is Legacy, so that's where most of my heuristics come from. And I feel like my play pattern, like, I feel like what I'm saying is logical. I accept that I can be wrong, but it just makes sense to me that I am not going to have the ability to hold up that mana. What did my opponent get with that in Inquisition? Utopia Sprawl. Oh, that card's in this deck. Hello and welcome. I've missed you. Alright. So let's go land, tap you, Utopia Sprawl. Honestly, right now, I think I just want more green. I already have access to all my colors, technically. I guess for random Assassin's trophies hitting up my stuff, there's times where I want to be really conscious about what lands I'm putting these things on. Now, what if you're on your phone? Good question. Inquisition. Takes the Ghostly Prison. That's fine, I get Sythis this turn. I think is what I'm just doing. Now, note, this is creature and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. So this is not a creature or enchantment spell. Destiny Spinner is a go. Thank you for walking through that player through Cardboard Live on the phone. I've not used it on my phone. I mean, spinner beatdowns is definitely a thing. I think I want to keep advancing my board a little bit more for right now, though. Alright, so there X is 2. Search library. And grab Sythis. And that adds 1 power to play, plus the ability to chain cards. And Destiny Spinner count is starting to get to the point where it's respectable. Alright, there's Assassin's Trophy. And a tapped Triome. Okay. I would like to do the thing. Will you allow it? Did not get, like, Force of Negation there. I think I just played this. Always yield. Doomwake Giant. No paying life for that. Yeah, Nathan, things are starting to look good. I mean, this can just get Abrupt Decayed or something. But if they spend most of their mana on this, like, Destiny Spinner activations very much start to be a thing. Alright, a Tarmogoyf. That's fine. How many enchantments do I have? Counts itself, right? Just total number of enchantments. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah, we can get out of Tarmogoyf range real quick. We can also potentially just, like, kill a Tarmogoyf next turn. Don't think that's happening this turn. Alright, another Sanctum Weaver. That's totally legit. Forest. More other Sanctum Weaver. Alright. Hit a land. Shrink that a little bit. You're a 3/4. I don't get to attack in this turn. If I had an untapped land, it's a different story. Like next turn, I can attack with a whole bunch of lands. Alright, Assassin's Trophy on the presence. Yes, that's fine. Take more mana. I still have 6 enchantments. Inquisition is a whiff. I didn't want to tap the Sanctum Weaver, though, because leaving up the Sanctum Weaver allows you to potentially chain all sorts of things together. Nice Thoughtseize. When does this end? Is it until end of turn? Until end of turn. All of Heliod's Generosity. Not bad. Okay, let's plan out the turn. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 6s. Am I just, like, firing off, animating a bunch of lands and crashing in? Honestly, probably. Opponent's at 10. Yeah. Alright, add 6 mana. I'm gonna turn you into a critter. Okay, my opponent has just conceded there. I think this is the sort of matchup we're wanting to play against a slower, more controlling deck. Okay, we are playing against a Yorion deck. I will be keeping this hand. We have a couple of different ways that we can play out the hand, and the most interesting thing is actually what we do with the Abundant Growth. Wait, hold up. Series? There's more? There's more than just American Gods? I have some work to do if that is the case. Yeah, wasn't there, I think it was on HBO, the American Gods show? Okay. This card is sick, by the way. This card is so good at enabling shenanigans. I just recorded a green, like, Celestia Depths deck in Celestia Depths video in Legacy, and this thing plus is like just Urborg, but it actually taps for the colors you want. It's disgusting what that does. You get to like activate Knight of the Reliquary and sacrifice your colorless lands. It's sick. Alright, anyway. I think I am going to go ahead and just... Oh, I can get real cheeky. Is this Enchant Land? This is Enchant Land, it's not Enchant Forest. Which is relevant if this leaves the battlefield. I guess I can just Abundant Growth this without fetching. That's... yeah, I also did Anansi Boys. That is indeed a crossover character. I can confirm that. I enjoyed that one as well. It's a little weird. Like, you have to let it go and do its thing, but it's very enjoyable. Monarch of the Glen. Hold on. We're writing that one down. Hold on, Wrenn and 6 is still a legal card in this format? That's insane. Monarch of the Glen. Okay. Yeah, every once in a while there's cards like Wrenn and 6 and Loris that are still allowed to exist in Modern, and it just surprises me. Oh, baby. We might be playing against a Madness deck. I have seen rumors of a deck that is both Madness and it like creates a bunch of food and then brings a troll back from the graveyard. UTV's tapped unless you control 3 or more other forests. When an UTV's untapped, you make a food. Okay. Well, opponent may do scary things in a little while. Not part of the same series, but the Norse mythology book is really good too. I think it is just legit called like Norse mythology or something like that. Whatever it's called, it's great. Ghostly Prison is probably legit. Alright. Misty Rainforest. Fast. Oh yeah, we have a bunch of happy little trees. I've already made the YouTube thumbnail for this video. It's got 3 of these on it. I like this card. Stomping Ground. Galvanic Blast. Discard Gingerbread Cabin. I see where this is going. Discard it, bring it back. Is Upheaval even good enough to, like, register on the power level of Modern cards? That's a question. I actually don't know the answer to it. It seems like it costs 1 billion mana. I don't think I on Thin Ice the Gilded Goose. My opponent can make another 3rd food anyway. I think I'm just going to do this and play Overgrown Tomb tapped. Weaver playable in Legacy Enchantress. So one of the strengths of Legacy Enchantress is that a bunch of the things that you play are really hard for your opponent to interact with, and Sanctum Weaver is really easy to interact with. Like Decay, Bolt, Push, cards that normally don't have many or any targets. When you start giving them targets, you lose some virtual card advantage. So The power level of the card might be appropriate, but I think just with how the format lines up, it doesn't make much sense to play that. Legacy Enchantress often only runs 1 or 2 Sarah Sanctums anyway, so... What? Excuse me? The Urza just came out of nowhere, and now these foods fuel it? And the foods also make mana, so you can spin the wheel with Urza? My opponent's deck is cool as hell. Okay. So, we're gonna do some stuff. Now, the question is, like, how do I make my mana work here? So, I guess I'm not drawing any cards, and I can use Sanctum Weaver to make white at the end. Okay. So, let's enchant this forest. A green. We'll just make more green mana. That's fine. This can be green. Create a Sanctum Weaver. Now, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I do need to fetch for a snow-covered land here. Good call. And just being cheeky with my opponent's Yavimaya. Alright, so this will be 4 white for Ghostly Prison. Then I will on Thin Ice, target this land. I think I am supposed to just exile the Urza. It is too scary. Like, the construct is annoying in that it hits me and is a thing that actually kills me. But Urza giving my opponent plus 5 or more mana and also effective card draw seems rough. I need an Enchantress effect. Napalm 314, thank you very much for following. Like, I maybe even hold both my Sanctum Weavers and just pass the turn if I miss on a draw. Alright, it's been a little while, so just as a refresher, instants and sorcery cards in your graveyard have Retrace. So that's recurable Galv Blast potentially in the not too distant future. It's gonna be really silly if, like, food ends up being a broken deck. Alright. 7. I will take 7. My opponent paid the tax for Ghostly Prison. Alright, 8 is Gilded Goose. And ow. Well, I guess we're suspending Resurgent Belief. Yeah, how close to Emrakul are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, we straight up could cast an Emrakul. I think I go ahead and play one of these with the intention of just... Oh. Let's do this way. I can just do this off this one land. With the intention of chump blocking with one of them and leaving 2 active. And suspend this Resurgent Belief. Now, if I do chump block, though, I do shut off Finale of Devastation for Emrakul as a line. But I think that's okay. There's that cookbook, doing cookbook stuff. Construct is just massive. What is this? You would create a clue, food, or treasure token. Instead, create one of each. Oh. That's interesting. No, Sythis is on cast. It's the ones that have Constellation that are actually on, whatchamacallit, on ETB. So my opponent could sacrifice treasures to attack there. So I can play Solitary Confinement, stack the triggers so that I sacrifice it, and then return it with Resurgent Belief. Lol, 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 lol. Actually, do I want to do that? Because I'll skip my draw step. Maybe I play it and I resolve Resurgent Belief first. It's weird because the Sythis is coming back. Yes, I play. Ooh, I overtapped there. It doesn't matter. I'm holding this card. We'll see what we can do next turn. I don't know what I need to be playing around from my opponent. So I think I am good with losing 1 card in order to potentially just not die to this construct becoming unblockable or gaining some form of evasion somehow, or all my things getting galv blasted. Oh, I don't know what this is either. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, investigate. Sacrifice X clues. Target opponent reveals the top X cards of their library. You may put a non-land permanent card with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Okay. Oh, wow. So Yorion's gonna do some work here, huh? Just blink a few things. Don't envy my opponent having to, like, navigate this mess. Alright, so they should come back and a billion things will trigger. Did we freeze up? Nope. Okay, we did not freeze up. Okay, now it's my turn. So I think I do want this Solitary Confinement. That means I stack this like this. Will not discard a card. We'll go ahead and return these things to play. Cast. Alright. Let's see if we can chain a bunch of things together. I guess I should technically tap this one first. Another Solitary Confinement. Let's go ahead and just tap one of these here. Doing this purely to cycle. Doom Wake Giant. Okay. We could go places with this. Oh my god, we're going off. Alright. Abundant Growth. Can go here. We'll make a bunch of green mana now. Welcome, Lord Darkview. You're just in time. Don't worry about what's happening on screen. It's very complicated. I don't understand exactly what all my opponent is doing. Oh, did my opponent just die? I wonder if my opponent's dead. Do these trample? Trample and haste. Well, we'll figure out in a minute if my opponent's dead. Oh, they're so dead. Alright. I will create some mana. I would like to cast Emrakul the Aeon's Torn. Alright. I'll take an extra turn. Alright, Destiny Spinner. Okay, my opponent just concedes. Alright, now chat, be honest. Who thought I was dead this game because my opponent had about 50 permanents? Raise your little hands. You're more surprised that MTGO didn't crash. That's fair. Okay. So what do we have for this food deck? Suppression Field seems hot. There are other cards that I can board in. Yeah, two turns worth of Emrakul attacks is what matters there, right? Because, like, well, plus, like, in the second turn, I also just make a billion power with my lands and kill my opponent. So I think that's the thing that really lives in dead. I think I'm probably supposed to board in Suppression Field and Rest in Peace here. I don't know that I want Path to Exile, but I might board another On Thin Ice. And if I'm boarding in Rip, I probably don't want those. Yeah, the Underworld Cookbook did a lot of work that game. Also, definitely gonna need to screenshot the VOD later for Twitter clout, of course. Like, here's how it started, here's how it's going, sort of thing. I think I want to go down one of these. I have no idea how to sideboard with this deck. I think I go down some number of Sterling Groves. Are seals actually good? Like, I get that destroying my opponent's stuff is cool, but it seems like they go wide pretty quickly. And single target removal isn't nearly as good as something like Suppression Field or Rest in Peace that nukes a zone. The one of Sterling Grove that I left in there randomly should probably be like one seal or keep one of the other cards in. Oh, this hand's pretty good. I will be keeping it. We have turn 2 Enchantress's Presence. Alright, opponent mulligan to 6. And what are they starting off with? Goose. Goose makes food. Alright, I would like to ramp the mana. Is this one naming green? given how many green cards I have in my hand, and the fact that I have an abundant growth in hand, this one does probably name green. Like, this is technically a 3-color deck, but you don't really need black, and you don't have too many white cards. More goose? Yeah, that's all fine with me. Alright, let us put the draw engine into play. And then we'll see if next turn I can do something disgusting. Metallic Rebuke was not something that I was expecting. I'm hoping not to activate Hall of Heliod's Generosity at all this game. Like, I understand your logic, but before I would take a turn off to get something like this back, I would mostly want to be exhausting the cards in my hand. Like, given the broken stuff that my opponent was doing last game, I don't think that I get to take the time off to rebuy that. Alright, Wrenn and 6 will do Wrenn and 6 stuff, allow my opponent to make land drops. Unless... I think I'm good with my opponent having Wrenn and 6 for a turn or two, oddly enough. So that I can try to get more mana in play. So let's go ahead and tap this for a green. I'll play Abundant Growth on the Hall. That'll just cycle a card. And I think I want Sanctum Weaver. I just want to pull ahead on mana here, because that's my current bottleneck. It's not cards, because like Finale can get a Sythis, or just an Emrakul if we make it to 17. Oblivion Ring can answer Wrenn or whatever permanent my opponent makes that's more threatening than that. Playing Titania. Titania would be sick. I play Legacy Applejacks sometimes, which is a sort of like orcish explorer Nick Fit sort of deck. And I played it with like Greater Gargadon, where you can sacrifice all your lands and get a whole bunch of elementals. It's super cute. Engineered Explosives on 1. I mean, that's not bad, but it also gets rid of your geese. I'm not sure how good that ends up being overall. Suppression Field. Okay, so I've been knocked off colors here. I can kind of get around that, though. So let's go and cast Abundant Growth on this Hall. And draw a card. Rest in Peace. That's real good against Wrenn. Is that the turn? That's probably better than Suppression Field immediately. Suppression Field is something I want in play long term very, very badly. This is a good enough turn, I think. Oh right, it counts itself. This is a mana dork. So, does that change anything about my turn? Not really. Does mean that I can leave this up though. I could also just Oblivion Ring Wrenn. But Wrenn is not scary without a graveyard. Yeah, I'm just gonna rest in peace. A little less mana efficient. Knuckle, I don't know. Like, we are what, 5 days into a new format? Modern Enchantress was not a thing prior to this, so we don't have like years built worth of deck building heuristics like we do for other formats like Legacy. I don't know what the deck lists are supposed to look like, quote unquote. Like, my league here will be one tiny blip on the data stream that will help with that. But give it a week or two. Oh, EE for 2. I mean, that trades with these and also takes Wrenn out. Kind of awkward. Okay, yeah, so we can trade all that stuff here. My opponent has blown up 3 of their own permanents, plus, like, the 2 EE cards themselves. My opponent is not sitting on a lot of gas. I think this is just Suppression Field time. And work towards getting 4 mana to get a draw engine in play. This makes Underworld Cookbook and Food and Gilded Goose and Planeswalkers considerably worse. Sterling Grove, not really what I'm looking for. I will go ahead and just nuke this creature. I just want to keep the board clear, because everything that I... Okay. Got it. Every turn that I get is just another turn towards me drawing a land. And once I draw a land and take out my opponent's stuff, I'm in okay shape. Alright, do I want a Sterling Grove, or do I want a Destiny Spinner? I think I want a Sterling Grove. Don't want to lose my On Thin Ice, for example. Alright, opponent just drew a land. Their Yorion went to hand. Sure. Alright, there's a Sythis. I mean, this is the sort of thing that I'm looking for. Although I really would have liked to just Oblivion Ring and get that out of the way. But that's okay. We'll get there. Like, we'll have Sythis Solitary Confinement, and Sterling Grove protects my stuff so it can't be removed easily. I just need to hit a land. Not super scared of the Underworld Cookbook currently. Land though. Land though would be clutch. Nope, no lands. No lands for Phil. That's okay. Now my stuff doesn't get countered by Metallic Rebuke either. Okay. You know, that sure is not a land. I guess we're gonna just legend roll this. Come on. Yeah, my stuff is pretty well protected right now. I'm not gonna mess around with poking in. I don't want to like accidentally lose one of these creatures in combat. We're gonna win by miles once I actually draw a land. No, we are not taking the thing that gives all my shit shroud off of the table. Absolutely not. Yeah. This is enchantments, right? Not green. Yep, and enchantments. All right, good stuff. Pass the turn. Okay, and my opponent has conceded the match here. GG's. Yeah, I think you can consider Sythis and Champion, Eidolon of Blossoms. It's going to take a little while to figure out exactly what the builds need to look like. Okay, let's see. I think this is round 4 now. No lands in this hand. We're going to have to mulligan. Keep? How do I feel about this Emrakul? I don't think we're getting to the Emrakul in the early game. I know how silly that sentence sounds, but there are hands where I think we do get to it in the early game. It's not this one. So we're just going to bottom that. Another Bobble deck. Immediately sack it. Targeting themselves. Alright, so we're playing against another Prowess deck. Alright. So, when am I playing Utopia Sprawl? I play Utopia Sprawl on white this turn. I can tap this land next turn for Sythis, then go Forest Abundant Growth. Okay, what if we just bring back Splinter Twin, huh? That'll fix the format. And by fix the format, I mean make the format exactly the way I want it to be. No one else. Splinter Twin Modern was one of my favorite formats of all time. I just absolutely adored that deck. One of my favorite decks that I've ever played. Alright, Expressive Iteration. And we'll see if they hit something like a Bobble that they can just play for free. Like, the Splinter Twin format was really skill testing and rewarded patience so much. Like, I don't know how many times there were where I had, like, Deceiver Exarch in play and Wall of Omens in play. I would just, like, look my opponent in the eyes and say, I cast Splinter Twin targeting Wall of Omens. And they were just like, resolves. And they cry and I grind them out. And then that was a format where Keranos was good. And God, I love playing with that card. It was such a great sideboard plan. Draw me some life, get me some cards, and then we'll work towards dropping a Solitary Confinement next turn. Oh, I know, we're a long way from that time. That was, I don't know what you want to call it. That was like my honeymoon time with Modern, where that was just like my peak of Modern play. I dabble with Modern. Like, obviously I'm playing Modern right now, right? But like, I dabble with the format. I come back to it every time someone tells me Death and Taxes is good and play a League. And then whatever broken deck at the time kills me on turn 2, and there was no way I could have interacted. And then I put Modern down for 6 months and try again. Cycle repeats. I've played... Oh, fuck. I look at chat for 3 seconds, and then my opponent makes a 6-6. That's not good. Alright. So, does this have Prowess too? What's the exact text on this? Delve, Flying, No, right. Okay, it's not Prowess. It's weird. Whenever an instant or sorcery leaves your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on this. Okay, so I think if I want to have a reasonable chance at actually winning the game, I have to play Sythis this turn and Solitary Confinement next turn. The real question is it safe to pay 1 life to draw a card? I think I have to. I think I just need this mana source long term. Destiny Spinner being in play is also just no joke. Alright, I gained the life right back. Twitch chat, you so smart. Alright, there's a Finale of Devastation. And that's a way to eventually win the game. Alright, land from the opponent, which I'm guessing they'll immediately cycle. Indeed. Serum Visions. I don't know how we're supposed to keep up with the decks that are this fast. Because I think that was round 1 as well, where we just got totally plowed over before I could get established. I think I take all of this. I don't think I want to mess around with like blocking this and then like some random lava dart or something happens and I lose a creature that I otherwise want. Goodbye half my life total though. Alright, Enchantress's Presence. I'm very happy to see that. So, tap like this. Sanctum Weaver. Prevent all damage that would be done to you. This is loss of life, which is different. I think I do want to put a Sanctum Weaver in play. Yes. I think I do, because that works towards Finale of Devastation actually winning the game. Alright, new Sanctum Weaver. That all looks great. We're not going to get cheeky and try to do any pokes here. I don't need to randomly lose these creatures to assorted effects. Discarding Temple Garden on my turn. Manamorphose is no biggie. So the scariest thing that can happen is my opponent just has a bounce spell for Solitary Confinement. Second scariest thing is just a removal spell for Sythis. Okay, opponent, you have creatures. Message received. Alright. Let's start by tapping these for the Enchantress's Presence. Ghostly Prison. A fine draw. Tapping this for white, okay. Tapping this for white is probably fine here. If I want to keep multiple colors open, I should tap this now. Actually, given the texture of my hand, I might just want to tap this for green. And then do white off Temple Garden. And then I think I'm going to be looking at Emrakul next turn. As crazy as that is to say. I haven't mathed it out yet, but I'm guessing that's correct. Okay, my phone is just done. That's fair. Life, I suppose, is bad for them. Yeah, I don't know how much interaction my opponent actually has to a Solitary Confinement once it's in play. It's also miserable to just like play it out versus Solitary Confinement because like it's not always deterministic because you can just hit a giant pocket of lands and then like you whiff. But it takes a lot of turns to get through that sort of thing. All right, what do I want? I want On Thin Ice. I want Path to Exile. I guess this is technically kind of a removal spell. Can think about it. Rest in Peace is a little bit interesting against Dragon Rage Channeler and what is it? Murktide Regent? Is that the name of it? The delve thingy. These probably come in. I think like I've done every round, I'll board out Resurgent Belief. And again, I'm having trouble sideboarding. Like I'm not sure which parts of the engine are actually cuttable. Like in theory, assuming like this gets me that, I still want to bring in at least 4 more cards, and Ruined Halo isn't crazy either. I mean, Oblivion Ring does seem slow, but it is removal, right? Like, same with Doomwake Giant. It's slow, but it is removal. Do I get to cut those? Do I just cut Sterling Grove because I don't actually expect my opponent to be able to interact with my stuff? Sterling Grove has the upside of protecting the creatures, though, and that is relevant. Sure. We'll try cutting the Oblivion Ring. I think I want to leave the Doomwake Giant, though. Maybe I cut Sigil. I can win lots of ways if I have that much time. And maybe go down 1 Sterling Grove. I don't know, Sigil is a tutorable enchantment-based win, though. Maybe I cut Finale of Devastation for being slow. Like, it's just a second copy of Emrakul that's a little more flexible. Awkward. On Thin Ice is not a turn 1 removal spell here. Like, it's a turn 2 removal spell, and then I have turn 3 Enchantress's Presence, but I do just have 5 lands. I think I'm actually going to mulligan this one. That has no land. This is the best looking hand so far. I need to toss back 1 Rest in Peace, and then the second card is debatable. So Rest in Peace is a card that either does nothing or everything, with very little in between. If my opponent is starting on the Murktides and the Dragon Rage Channelers, it's very good, and if they're just starting with more traditional threats, it's very bad. I might bin Abundant Growth here. The reason to bin Rest in Peace is because it's kind of awkward to cast it on turn 2 some portion of the time. I don't know. Maybe I junk Sanctum Weaver. Enchantress is fun. I don't know that our build is optimized or that the deck is fast enough for the format, but it's fun. I can tell you that much. All right, Dragon Rage Channeler. So we're glad to have Rest in Peace. A 1/1 threat is worlds different from a 3/3 threat. Hello. See what we get off Abundant Growth. Not that we're... Emrakul is back. We're not quite ready for Emrakul yet. Scalding Tarn fetches. Bright Dragon, Bobble. I'll take some damage. They'll do a little surveilling. It's okay. Soul Scour Mage to the graveyard. So that'll be 2 types. Bobble will be 3 types, and then I'll nuke the graveyard. The Sprite Dragon will still be a problem. That card is very good. Alright. There's the Bobble draw. Not the only win condition. A primary win condition for sure. We can also just win with Destiny Spinner. We can win with, not Luminarch Ascension, the Sigil of the Empty Throne. We can also just win by turning our Enchantress sideways 20 times if we have to. Stranger things have happened. So while I'm not worried about the Dragon Rage Channeler, I will need to find like an On Thin Ice or something for the Sprite Dragon relatively soon. Apparently a tricky expressive iteration. Alright, 80 Monastery Swift Spear from the opponent. Getting a little Magic Online lag. I'm probably going to want to reboot after this game. Okay, 4, 5, 6. I think I need to take a risk here and do this. I can play Solitary Confinement to buy a turn, but I think unless I start drawing cards with it next turn, there's a realistic chance that I might fizzle. So this will give me a cantrip off the Solitary Confinement itself if I don't just die this turn. I accept that I can just die, though. But I think if I just play Solitary Confinement, then discard Emrakul, and then play Enchantress's Presence, don't draw, like, that just puts me into a position where I probably just don't win. This is 5, 6, 7, 8. Any other spell kills me. Yep. Alright. I will concede the game here. We shut off the graveyard, but the regular prowess threats were too potent. Okay. On the play, Oblivion Ring and Ruined Halo are a little bit better. I think I want those. Maybe Sterling Grove out on the play for more removal. Like, Sterling Grove protecting my creatures from Lightning Bolt-esque effects is very nice. But I feel like my actions need to have an impact on the board or need to be working towards me drawing cards or locking my opponent out. Yeah, the Prowess deck seems very good. I have not played much Modern, but it looks gross. Yep, this is fine. I will be keeping this. I think I'm just grabbing a Temple Garden on turn 1. And then On Thin Ice becomes live for turn 2, as does Sanctum Weaver, Rest in Peace, so on and so forth. And I'm going to take my F6 value by fetching now. On Thin Ice is like both the perfect removal spell for this deck and the awkward removal spell for this deck, because it's not great on turn 1. And in this format, you really want your removal to be good on turn 1. Dragon Rage Channeler, Mishra's Bobble, Soul Scour Mage to the graveyard, and I get bobbled. That's fine. Okay. What is the play? Sanctum Weaver and Rest in Peace both have various reasons why they're a good play. I think I'm going to go with Rest in Peace this turn. Rest in Peace this turn, followed by either Enchantress's Present or Ghostly Prison, and the Sanctum Weaver is something I'm going to use to draw cards with later, rather than treat it as an immediate removal spell. I think if this was an actual Prowess creature, I would be considering removing it this turn. Yeah, look, this deck is certainly fun. Like, it is a good time. Whether it's a good deck, hard to say. But I'm really enjoying playing it. Like, this has Legacy vibes all over it. Oh yeah, like, Modern's definitely interesting to me. Alright, take one off the Dragon Rage Channeler. I don't think I need to remove that this turn. Some sort of counterspell could exist, I suppose. Accordingly, do I want to Ghostly Prison? Maybe I want a Ghostly Prison here rather than Enchantress's Presence. This is just putting more taxation on my opponent's stuff. I don't want to get this countered. It's so important to my strategy. The following turn, I can play Enchantress's Presence and On Thin Ice and immediately cantrip off of it. I like that. Let's see if my opponent hits anything gas with Expressive Iteration. They've priced themselves out of attacking this turn, which is good for me, but they could drop, you know, some sort of Delver-sized threat into play. Mog Marshall, thank you very much for following. Thoughts on Calyx Destiny's Hand in this list? I played that card in Legacy once, and I drew it and never cast it because it was too slow. I imagine the same is true in Modern. Like, you have so many things you can do with your mana. I'm not sure that a Planeswalker quite fits into the plan. Alright, cool. Do it like this. Maybe. Here we go. There's some lines I can do involving the Utopia Sprawl that are kind of interesting. Alright, choose target snowland. A white. I don't really want to remove this creature, but I do want to cantrip, which is why I'm playing this card. Oh yeah, that's the Sigil. We will win with that. So like, now I have 4 different kind of annoying enchantments in play, and I'm only getting started. So saving the Utopia Sprawl is important for if I go into Doomwike Giant. And I don't know like what color I need 100% of the time yet, so I want to wait on that a little while. Alright, Bobble from my opponent. I don't know exactly what they can be digging for. I think I saved the Utopia Sprawl for another turn as well. Like, once Sigil is in play, it's also an Angel in addition to everything else. Alright, here we go. Oh, Solitary Confinement 2. That feels like it will be GG. If I can get a second source of card draw in play, I think that's more or less a guaranteed lock. I just like don't know what my opponent is supposed to do once I get going like this. Like, if I don't die in the early turns, then I just get to start doing this bullshit. Like, what do they do? Yeah, GG's. Alright, final round. I have kept my opening hand. We have turn 2 Enchantress's Presence, and then we have 1 card draw after it. I think I will go ahead and just take white here. There's a world where I take black, thinking like way, way to the future. But if Enchantress's Presence were to be taken for some reason, I might want to be able to make green-white off a single land. Cavern of Souls, naming human. Humans! I am down to see how we do against humans. I think humans is slow enough that we're okay against what they're doing. Let's play the Enchantress's Presence. And let's see if we can spiral this game out of control. Yeah, so like a bunch of my opponent's early game plays are only pseudo-disruptive for me. Like Athalia is something I can totally just force my way through. A Kite Sail Freebooter sort of effect is kind of annoying, but I should draw through that. Yeah, so like this is a great example. The Sterling Grove will take this Kite Sail Freebooter. Other way around. But then like I should hit enchantments and then I will do disgusting things. Obviously very happy with that particular draw. Yeah, gross. All right, Utopia Sprawl this. Pay this, draw a couple cards. Nice, Ghostly Prison is insane here. I think this is the portion where I go ahead and take black. Ghostly Prison will slow my opponent down so much. These Aether Vial decks are not built with that many mana sources. You kind of cheat on mana a little bit with Aether Vial, and that means if my opponent is committing their mana to attacking, they're not deploying threats from 2 axes, which is something they really want to be doing. 3 mana. This is probably just going to be that aggressive creature. Yeah, that aggressive creature. That's what I meant. That's the one. Ooh. Post-combat. Meddling Mage. Solitary Confinement is probably the name. Solitary Confinement is confirmed the name. Ooh, Oblivion Ring. That's sick. I think Ghostly Prison is the first play. Let's start here. Oh yeah. How do I want Oblivion Ring Meddling Mage? Probably. Take that out of play now. Leave myself the possibility of drawing Solitary Confinement and then just having the hard lock. I guess I can Utopia Sprawl first. Yeah. This is fine. Okay, yeah, there's Solitary Confinement. This one will name white. We'll go ahead and play an Oblivion Ring. Oh yeah, we have tools available to us, to say the least. Already played my land. Good stuff. I expect to win the game if Solitary Confinement resolves next turn. Phantasmal Image, Kitesail Freebooter. That's fine. Like, I can get my Solitary Confinement back based on current board. I believe it is Kambal with a B. Kamal is the, like, green thing that animates some lands. Okay, yeah, my opponent has thrown in the towel there. Yeah, it seems like the play pattern here with Enchantress is that once I get going, I will win. But if I die in the early game before I get set up, there's not much I can do. So let's try not to die in the early game. I get +3 removal spells. I can consider some cards that hate on Aether Vial, like Suppression Field or Seal of Cleansing or something. But I don't know if they're actually good at the end of the day. I think I don't want Resurgent Belief. That becomes On Thin Ice. Then, Modern Peeps, help me out. Do I have to worry about any sort of, like, Reclamation Sage sorts of humans of any kind? Like, what sort of answers do they have for my stuff? Like, am I good to just board out Sterling Groves, or are they important for some reason? I don't know what this deck currently looks like. Okay, Knight of Autumn, that makes sense. Maybe I don't cut all of them, but I trim them. Like, trim 2 for 2 Path to Exile. Or Skyclave Apparition. Yeah, Skyclave Apparition is really good. Ruined Halo is technically a thing that I could try here. Ruined Halo is probably about on par with Sterling Grove in terms of power. Ruined Halo can stop large Champion of the Parishes from beating me early. But it is white. I think I'm going to call this good. I don't think I want to mess with their Aether Vials. I think just doing my own thing might be better a good portion of the time. Activated. I will be keeping this hand. This is turn 1 Utopia Sprawl, turn 2 Enchantress's Presence. It also has the possibility of playing On Thin Ice on turn 2. Yeah, Suppression Field is very good against Aether Vial. But, like, when I'm on the draw, I don't know that Suppression Field is actually fast enough. I'll name white with this one. I will tick up to 1. I guess I can just F6 their turns. It's not like I'm doing anything, let's be real. Cavern on Human. Into Thalia. Sure. I have 3 mana available this turn. I can On Thin Ice Thalia if I want. I might want. I can also just play Sanctum Weaver and try to kind of play around it. Through it, rather. But if my opponent has some sort of, like, Giver of Runes effect, I can get punished for not removing it this turn. I think I'm just going to go ahead and junk it here. And that lets me play tapped Temple Garden, which I like. I don't want to take unnecessary damage in this matchup. My goal next turn is to play Enchantress's Presence, and then double Sanctum Weaver the following turn, draw 2 cards, get through the deck, work towards some things that start locking out my opponent. Sphere of Safety too slow for Modern. We're playing Ghostly Prison? a little bit cheaper, does similar things. Maybe not a crazy one of. I'm gonna take 4. That's a clock. A Destiny Spinner. Okay. So this is going to be an instant speed kite sail freebooter, and it is going to be very good. It's going to take the Enchantress's presence. Alright, as predicted. So I'll fetch here. Just be grabbing a forest. And I will double spell. There is a world where I just become the aggro deck if my opponent doesn't put more pressure on. I have 4 enchantments currently. I can make it 6 as of next turn. So I can make the larger creatures, but my opponent's creatures have evasion. Hopefully I just like rip an Enchantress effect off the top and I won't have to think about it too much. Alright, 4 more damage. Land is not what I'm looking for. Okay. So, this is the one that's newly controlled, right? That's the one that's newly controlled. Okay. Let's tap like this, and this. Play a Sanctum Weaver. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plus 4 to activate this. I can't get to double activation this turn. Like double attack. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can turn it into 6 if I tap this, but that requires me to tap this. Yeah, I'm not getting double activation this turn. Not even if I tap this first. That's 5. Yeah, then I only get 1 activation. Okay, I mean, that's fine. Let's add a bunch of green. Turn this land into a dude. That is a 6/6 haste trampler. And let's send it on in. And next turn I can attack with 3 or 4 lands that look like that. Who is the beatdown? The lands. The lands are the beatdown. Alright, 3 mana. Shardless Agent, that's exciting. Into Kite Sail Freebooter. Maybe not the ideal threat for current times. I'll take some damage. That's fine. Oh, on Thin Ice is very good. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6, 12, 18 mana currently. So I can just turn all 4 of my things into creatures and attack for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 12, 18, 24. That should pretty much kill my opponent. I'm trying to think if there's any scenario where I want to actually cast on Thin Ice rather than just attack with 4 creatures. Attacking with 4 creatures seems like it kills my opponent. I am at 7. Things can happen with Ether Vial. I don't know the format well enough to know what tricks I need to play around. Why does casting it after... Oh, cast it... I see. Yeah, that I like that play fine and Andy. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's exile this thing. Then do this. You target this. And do this. And you target this. And do this. And you target this. And do this. And you target this. And I guess we still have mana for Enchantress's presence too. Okay, there's the 4-1 with the first draft of Modern Enchantress. Very happy with those results. Overall thoughts on the deck list, and let me pull together the sideboard so we all get it on screen here. Maybe let's move these around here. Let's make it look pretty. Okay, it's not easy. It's not easy getting all the cards on screen when you have 15 drops in your deck. This deck was pretty good. I do feel like we were at a disadvantage in the early game, but in the mid to late game, it felt like people just could not interact with me. It felt like once I got the draw engine going, as long as the board was stable or close to stable, I just pulled further and further ahead every turn. Destiny Spinner definitely overperformed there in a couple of those matches. I feel like the weakest cards in the main deck are probably Resurgent Belief. That's like the weakest card. That one just should not be in the deck. We don't have time for it. I think Resurgent Belief is weak. And honestly, I'm not sure to what extent we need Emrakul. and Finale of Devastation. Like, the cards are good. Like, Emrakul does Emrakul stuff. And it did win us a game. But there were so many games where just, like, having a Destiny Spinner or just drawing a bunch of cards was totally fine as a win condition. It may be that you can resculpt and change to have 2 other threats that you can cast earlier in the game. Like, people brought up Sythis and Champion. That's something that has synergy with the Enchantress side of the deck and also becomes a large scaling threat. It also could be that you just play a couple more Destiny Spinners and you plan on attacking by winning with lands. Unless your opponent has some sort of instant speed Wrath effect, like, say, Settle the Wreckage or something like that. That seems to be a pretty good plan. It's also unclear how good Doomwake Giant is. It's a little slow at stopping some of the aggro decks like Prowess, but it's very potent once it gets online. Knucklepuck, I'm not sure how many On Thin Ices you actually want to play, right? Because it's not this turn 1 removal spell like you kind of want it to be. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I want to have access to some number of those, but, like, this deck as is doesn't even play the full play set, right? It plays a couple of Path to Exiles. I could also see just playing something like a Sunlance. Is that card legal in this format? Just some other white removal spell, like a Sunlance that just, like, can kill something early. I'm pretty happy with this. I would cut the Void Mirrors from the sideboard. I think that card is a little bit sketchy. I think Veil of Summer and Void Mirror are the worst cards in the sideboard. I would look at replacing those with other things, but I would need to look at the modern legal Enchantress card pool to know exactly what that is. Anyway, I really enjoyed this league. For those of you watching this on the YouTube end, if you have any ideas about how this deck list should change, please throw them in the comments. Let me know. I am not a Modern expert, and this is my first attempt at Enchantress. Is Enchantress tier 1 in Modern? I feel comfortable saying that the answer is no. We're a little slow. We're a little clunky. We're very powerful once we get going, but there is that contingent if, right? We don't come out of the deck, like, we don't come out of the gates nearly as fast as something like Affinity or the Prowess deck. I feel comfortable saying we're not a tier 1 deck, but we are a deck, I think, that you can play and not be embarrassed to play it, right? Like, this deck felt good tonight. It has some problems. We can maybe smooth some of those problems out, but I don't feel like, yeah, this is a tier 1 deck and I just know it after playing 1 league. Anyway, for folks watching on the YouTube end, please consider, liking, subscribing, that sort of stuff helps out my content a lot, and throw any questions you have in the comments and I'll be happy to answer. Have a great rest of the day.